Don't have pepper. It's all about what you like.
Oh, wow.
해외에서 한식은 위장뿐 아니라 마음까지 따뜻하게 만들어주는 음식이라고 하죠. 헐리웃 유명 여배우 드류 베리모어는 자신이 진행하는 방송 드류 베리모어 쇼에서 자주 한식을 만드는 시간을 가집니다. 1978년에 아역으로 데뷔한 그녀는 1982년 영화 이티로 유명해졌고 벌써 40년 이상 인기를 이어오면서 한국과의 남다른 인연을 가지고 있는데요. 한국 화장품에 남다른 관심을 갖고 있던 그녀가 한국산 마스크팩을 수입해 뷰티 사업을 시작했고 큰 인지도를 얻기도 했습니다. 드류 베리모어는 한국 음식을 좋아하는 것으로도 유명한데요. 거기에는 사연이 있다고 합니다. 너무 어린 나이에 데뷔해 일찍 연예계를 경험하면서 술과 약의 중독에 빠져 젊은 시절을 보낸 그녀는 치료기관에서 독방 감금 생활을 하기도 했습니다. 이제는 시련을 이겨내고 자신을 강하게 만든 방법으로 한식을 마음껏 먹었다고 밝힌 바 있습니다. 실제로 미국 뉴욕에서 한식당을 운영하는 김은희 셰프는 드류 베리모어가 단골 손님이며 그녀가 꽃게탕에 소주를 즐겨 마신다고 전하기도 했습니다. 그녀는 팬데믹에도 한국계 유명 셰프 로이최와 함께 요리를 배우고 경험해보는 시간을 가졌는데요. 해당 프로그램에서는 한국식 양념갈비를 넣은 퓨전 음식을 만들었습니다. 음식을 만들어 맛본 드류 베리모어는 한국식 갈비 맛에 극찬을 아끼지 않았습니다. 또 그녀는 한국 음식이 가진 자연과 균형, 영양의 원칙에 대해 강조하곤 하는데요. 최근 드류 베리모어는 자신의 쇼에 뉴욕타임스 요리 섹션을 맡고 있는 한국계 셰프 에릭 김을 초대해 한국 갈비구이와 감자 샐러드 만드는 법을 자세히 배웠습니다. 처음에는 미국에서 채소에 마요네즈를 섞는 일이 흔하지 않다면서 의심의 눈초리를 보냈는데요. 먼저 감자 샐러드를 맛본 그녀는 이 정도로 맛있을 줄 몰랐다며 깜짝 놀랍니다. 이어서 갓 구운 한국 갈비구이를 한 입 넣자마자 감탄을 쏟아내며 거의 울음을 터뜨릴 정도였죠. 믿기 어려울 정도로 맛있다며 극찬한 것으로도 모자라 정신을 잃을 지경이라고까지 표현했습니다. 에릭 셰프는 자신이 이 음식을 좋아하는 이유로 자신이 자라면서 먹었던 음식이며 어머니가 젊은 시절 좋아하던 음식이었기 때문이라고 소개합니다. 관객석에 있던 사람들도 오마이갓을 외치며 믿을 수 없을 정도로 맛있다며 깜짝 놀랐는데요. 감자 샐러드처럼 평범한 반찬에도 놀라움을 금치 못하는 사람들이 10가지가 넘는 한국 반찬과 양념고기까지 구워 먹으면 어떤 반응을 보일까요?
61 by Carrier Kitchen, and we're talking Korean barbecue with one of the best in the state. Talking about Korean barbecue, some people may not be familiar with it. It's not just good food, it's like an entire experience. Right, Mark?
Absolutely. So when you come to Seoul Barbecue, if you're coming for lunch, you might notice that if you order Korean dishes, you're going to get 6 of these sides in the front. We call them banchan. Basically what it is a balance to the meal. And what you're looking at is something cold, something veggie, or maybe something starch. Because you're ordering hot and or meat or soup or some kind of rice dish that's going to balance with all of what you're having.
And speaking of hot, we have the grill going right here. And this is something that you can keep in mind if you want to replicate this at home. Bring us into the scene at the restaurant, because basically you sit at a table and there is a grill like this at the center of the table.
Right, we have in-table grills at our restaurant. What makes it different from hibachi is that it's smaller, and it's not necessarily a show. At a hibachi place, they'll set themselves on fire and do all kinds of things. Here, it's all about the food and flavor. If you've been here, you know and you understand. We don't mess around when it comes to food and flavor.
And the cool thing about this is that you do it yourself.
Right.
You order your beef, your chicken.
So in a perfect world, if you wanted to cook this yourself, you could tell the server that I would like to cook the meat myself. At the same time, we don't want people to mess up their dinner. So if it's a situation where you need the help, please ask.
Right.
Or if you want to do it yourself, you can also insist. But don't be offended if if the server comes and wants to cook the meat for you.
Right, because if it's your first time, you might not be familiar with how much time it should spend on the grill. Now walk us through, this happens to be one of my favorites.
Okay.
But I like spicy food here.
So what we got cooking on the stovetop here is called sundubu jjigae. This is the seafood version, haemul sundubu, if you will. Now, so sundubu is tofu. Tofu originates from a soybean. So we start with this. In the restaurant, we make this, okay? A little juicy, sorry. And then it turns into this.
And that is delicious, I have to say. Everything here is so good. And I just want to say, you created a little wrap here. We're running out of time, so I want to just grab this one here. That you put the little pieces of meat. We're going to have to do it really, really quick. I will wrap this. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks so much, Mark.
So you got to eat that before we leave.
All right, here I go.
역시 해외에서 가장 인기 있는 음식은 한국식 바비큐인 것 같은데요. 간장과 설탕으로 감칠맛 나는 양념에 직접 그릴에 굽는 고기 맛은 환상적이라고 합니다.
Check out this beautiful table. We are making 2 of the pieces here. What are they, Chef?
Well, today we're cooking kalbi, the short ribs, beef short ribs on the table, and then we're gonna show you how to make kimchi.
And the kimchi starts with Chef Clark Park.
So I'm gonna cut napa cabbage, like about half of napa cabbage cut.
Chef Park pulls the rest of it apart with his hands to keep the leaves intact.
But actually, if you cut just with a knife, all the small pieces falling down.
Chef soaks the cabbage in salted water overnight to soften the leaves. And after rinsing, he mixes these ingredients, garlic, ginger, and spices into a paste, and then spreads it layer by layer onto the cabbage.
It makes good flavor and good color.
Chef explains just how popular this fermented dish is in Korean homes.
Not even most and many. Every single home has a kimchi, and everybody can make kimchi there, I think.
His favorite chef taught him.
Most of my recipe from my mother. Yeah, I always ask her if I need something, and because I like her food.
So he carries her kimchi into a new country.
And we fermented like about months.
Next, Chef Andre Putrantro shows us how they prepare their meats. For the beef short ribs, they only order certain cuts.
Short rib number 6, 7, and 8. We want to be specific because when you go lower, it's going to be less meat. So this is right, perfect spot for us.
Rule number 1.
We don't waste the meat. Okay. Try not to waste the meat that we have.
Instead of a butcher knife, Chef opts for a fillet knife, super sharp and flexible, usually reserved for fish.
So when I see the bone, usually I cut it away from the bone just to save as much meat as I can.
It's here at the smokeless grill tables. Executive Chef Doko gives us a lesson: how to cook, how to drink, and how to taste.
Cheers.
Cheers. Wow. Awesome. Thank you. I'm Virginia Johnson. We'll see you next time.
여러분의 소중한 의견을 남겨주세요. 바쁘시더라도 구독과 좋아요 부탁드립니다. 지금까지 단골이시였습니다. 시청해주셔서 감사합니다.